What is up, everybody? Solomon here. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Well, I have another very interesting Lighthouse rapid fire interview. As many of you may know, Genfinity's Hedera Corner is sponsored by Hedera Hashgraph, and we have been nailing out as many interviews in the ecosystem as possible. Today, I'm extremely excited to have Coffee from Leemon Swap. He is the business development manager. Now, we try to keep these to 10 questions, 10 answers, and hopefully around 10 minutes to try to streamline as many as possible. It always turns into the Wild West, so it is what it is. But happy to have you here, Coffee, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Big delight. I've been watching your videos for a long time, so it's definitely a dream come true, so to speak.
Awesome, dude. So yeah, I definitely want to hear you kind of almost like an elevator pitch aspect, but to describe Leemon Swap for me, like why is Leemon Swap why has it been built out? Why is it being built out on Hedera as well?
Sure. Yeah. So Leemon Swap, for those that don't know, is a decentralized exchange and a DEX aggregator that we're building on Hedera Hashgraph. We're utilizing Sushi Swap Trident as a framework. It's going to allow us to bring on multiple types of pools, including a stable swap invariant pool, concentrated liquidity, weighted pools, and ways to bootstrap liquidity for projects coming from our launchpad. We're utilizing a pretty novel tokenomics technique and a mechanism that allows us to extend the runway of our emission schedule effectively indefinitely. So yeah, in terms of why Hedera, I've been in the crypto space since about 2018. I learned about Hedera in early 2019. The infamous Lehman Baird Harvard talk was what hooked me. As a lot of people probably have the same experience, and ever since I saw how efficient and cheap it was, I saw that opportunity because at the time, Ethereum was the main DeFi platform, and it's extremely expensive. Not something that you can really mess around um, with chump change, so to speak. With $100 a transaction. So I was testing all these different DeFi platforms, and I had to throw a pretty good amount of money at it to really understand what was going on. And then I see Hedera, and they're talking about bringing on EVM capability, and I noticed that you could spend as little as $10 and test the platform and fully understand it, or at least better understand it than some of these other DeFi platforms. And obviously, other DLTs came to the space that are pretty popular, like Binance Smart Chain and Pancake Swap, which is relatively cheaper, but it still didn't get to the cheapness and the speed that Hedera was promising. So, I really saw that as an opening for the DeFi community at large. And the goal really is to show both the crypto sphere and Hedera investors that Hedera is perfect for DeFi,
Yep.
and that's what we're hoping to come to market with.
Yeah, and I think this leads me into the target audience and community question that I always ask, and it has to kind of start with the populace, that is a little bit understanding of what DeFi represents. Like, how do you have outreach and try to gain more community members that are willing to participate in DeFi from the community standpoint, for like retail? And I think that all of that retail aspect, and I don't want to answer your question, but I think that benchmarks the legitimacy of these networks and DeFi as a whole for institutions to start coming in. So how do you bring more retail aspects into a platform like Leemon Swap? And on top of that, I think a big part of that is education. How do you educate them on DeFi mechanisms in the interim with that?
Sure. Yeah. So, Hedera investors are a different breed. They're completely different than a lot of other DLTs where people want to spend their tokens almost, exclusively. They really want to use utility for whatever the DLTs are. A lot of Hedera investors, they're looking for passive income or a way to stake their H bar. They're so used to holding H bar for so long, and you can see that through if you look at Stater. Stater is one of the largest contributors to TVL on Hedera, and it's strictly a passive staking mechanism. And they do have a liquid staking token, but for the most part, it's pretty passive. You put your H bar in there and you get more H bar. So we wanted to come to market with something that caters to both of those types of investors. One that wants to be more passive, where you can, put your tokens in one place and, not touch them, and it will gain additional income, obviously. And then the more DeFi centric active traders, where you can utilize our platform to get the most efficient trades possible, whether it be through the variety and pool types or the aggregator itself. And yeah, I like how you said education. That's definitely one of the most important things. Hedera's community at large has a very cursory view on DeFi in general. There's not a lot of DeFi protocols available. The ones that are pretty rudimentary in their execution. There's mostly just Uniswap v2 forks right now. And, we want to show the community there's a lot more to DeFi on these other DLTs. And there's, a lot of different protocols that can be brought over to Hedera, as long as they're a efficient and, useful DEX that's available. So, bringing people from other chains really comes down to who you partner with. So that's one of our main goals, is partnering with projects that are outside of the Hedera ecosystem that can bring liquidity over to Hedera and, show their already large user base that there's an alternative to either Ethereum or Solana, Cardano, what have you. And you see that with Hedera itself, the HBAR Foundation, as well as Worlds. They're trying to bring these other projects. We saw Helium recently launching on Solana. That was a big marketing push by Hedera to bring them to Hedera, which I think would have been a much better decision, seeing as what happened after they after they joined with Solana. But we have a similar goal, and that's where it starts. Really, is getting other DLTs involved and bringing liquidity that way. And once that's accomplished, I think we're going to get almost like a gold rush into Hedera and the DeFi scene.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like expanding out on that, because I know there are some other DEXs, and I know that Leemon Swap has a DEX aggregator and a decentralized exchange. So what can you describe what differentiates Leemon Swap from some of the other DEXs, what those look like? I know you talked about Uniswap v2. I know that you guys are going with a different aspect. So where does that separation occur? I mean, I'll say before you answer that, like, my opinion is the more DEXs, the more aggregators that we have is going to build out a stronger community within Hedera regardless over time. We want as many DEXs as possible. We want X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
What at the onset sets Leemon Swap apart from, some of these other DEXs? Like, what are you guys doing differently? And yeah, whatever you want to say to the community around that.
Sure. Yeah. So right now, what's available on the market are constant product market maker AMMs, which are fairly efficient if liquidity is deep. We don't see very deep liquidity on Hedera as of yet. And that makes it hard to pull liquidity from other chains, because they're not getting the efficiency that they're used to on these other DLTs. So with Leemon Swap, we'll be able to match the efficiency of these other DLTs, whether it's through our variety and pool types or the aggregator itself. And with an aggregator, what you're doing is splitting the volume of a single trade out through every available liquidity pool of that asset pair, which is something very popular on other DLTs, but hasn't yet been utilized on Hedera. And there wasn't really a way to do it previously because there wasn't enough DEXs. But right now we see two main ones. I think there's a third one that just launched. I've heard of a fourth one that's coming to market. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. So there's now a handful of DEXs that we can share liquidity with. And I think that's going to show the community how much more efficient it is to, lower the amount of volume that's going through these constant product AMMs, and also, adding a lot of liquidity through these other pool types to increase efficiency.
Yeah, and I think that exists in a lot of networks right now, as far as healthy spreads, arbitrage aspects, and really wanting to see that tightening between assets that are being either pulled together or being traded, or NFTs. It's going to be the same thing with real world assets once they come onto these ledgers, which is happening already, but it's going to be happening much more so. And it all kind of represents what a healthy market would look like, because you want to make sure that if I'm trading on X, Y, and Z exchanges, everything kind of is very, very fluent between all these assets. And that takes multiple builders in this space to be able to facilitate that and to try to say, hey, we want to aggregate, we want to build out, we want to create as much liquidity as possible for the community. So fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you said it, the more the merrier for DEXs. The more that we have building on Hedera, the better off our ecosystem is, both in terms of competition. You're forcing these products that come to market
to get better, or to benchmark what it looks like to be able to actually build something that's going to last.
Exactly. And what we're trying to do with Leemon Swap is raise the bar. We've seen what some other teams have brought to the market, and we're like, okay, we need to bring something that changes what's brought to market in the future. And that's really what our hope is that once we come to market, people realize that they need to improve their products to stay relevant, or to continue earning liquidity from investors.
Yep, 100%. Moving forward, so I'm curious about team members. How many team members does Leemon Swap currently have? What are some of the backgrounds within the team members? If you could go into that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. So we have 6 core team members. There's myself. We have a product consultant that goes by Mello. Our lead developer goes by Batley. It's a pretty funny name. Our branding and marketing advisor is PMB. He's a pretty well-known contributor to the Hedera ecosystem. He's been around for a long time. And then we have a fellow that goes by Leemon Cello, who's our investor relations advisor. And throughout the team, we have a lot of market experience, as well as real world experience. It's not just people that have always been in Web3. There's people that have been successful in both the banking industry as well as Web2 when it comes to launching products, branding them, and selling them. So I think I only mentioned 5 guys, but we have an assortment of advisors that we're working with, as well as some contractors for development, moderation, what have you. So
great. No, thank you. Next question obviously is leading us towards milestones and achievements. So this is always about, and it might even be from a relationship standpoint, as far as who you guys, have on board from an advisor. And I know that I believe you guys recently had the first portion of the NFT aspect that you guys were pushing out for sale. Can you talk about milestones and achievements? Can you talk about, even being able to pivot where something, comes up in this space? Like, where are you guys at kind of right now? Are you looking forward to any sort of new initiatives or new milestones that you guys are looking to drive home?
Yeah, sure. So so far from the Leemon Swap branding front, we've really only released our landing page, a light paper, and the first of the few public raise rounds. So we've started our NFT pre-sale. In the background, we are developing both the DEX and the DEX aggregator. They've already been tested on Ethereum as we're developing. We haven't ported over to Hedera yet, which is why we haven't released any test nets or examples of our front end. So that'll come pretty quickly. We're trying to release some screen views for people to see in the next couple weeks. And then we're hoping to have a testnet version of our DEX and DEX aggregator available for people to play around with within the month.
That's awesome. No, yeah, congrats. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm sure the community is as well. This kind of moves me forward, which is where do you see Leemon Swap? Because I know obviously DeFi is, I think we can both agree DeFi is not going anywhere. And I also think, what do we say? There's 4 probably, what we would consider decentralized exchanges launching on Hedera Hashgraph right now.
Yeah.
Where there's going to be way more than 4 in 3 to 5 years. So where do you see Leemon Swap being in, let's say in 2023, and then extrapolate that out to like 2025, ideally, in your mind, where would Leemon Swap be?
Sure. So one of the aspects that we're coming to market with is that novel mechanism to extend our emissions runway. So within 3 years, we'll probably have completed the initial percentage of the emission schedule.
Okay.
And that's really when the case study for Leemon Swap starts, where we're going to begin moving funds from the juice black hole over to the emissions runway, and we'll be able to extend that way past the 3-year mark that we have slated for the initial emission schedule. We also hope to bring a significant amount of TVL and liquidity over to Hedera. I'm not going to try and guess what that number would be, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, and I think that's that cusp that really proves us as a viable long-term product. Is that 3 to 5 year mark, because we're going to be showing the community like, hey, we had our emissions for 3 years. Guess what? We have another 3 years right in the chamber. So
now, so people for people that may not understand what you're talking about as far as emissions are concerned, can you break that down? What that looks like?
yeah, sure. So right now we have 40% of our supply that is going to be slated for a emissions wallet, where essentially anybody that provides liquidity and stakes those LP tokens in our farms will earn a emission reward. You'll see it on all the DEXs that are available right now. They usually have a mix of their platform token as well as HBAR.
Yep.
Which hopefully we will have both of those as rewards as well. But the emissions are essentially the lifeblood of every single DeFi platform.
Yep.
That's what encourages people to bring liquidity and stay, so that they can earn those rewards. So yeah, I mean, the emissions themselves are what keep people in the space, and hopefully what encourages them to add even additional liquidity.
Yeah, and I'd love to see. I mean, I know that we see like contributors in the space that delve out into DeFi, that do videos on things like impermanent loss and emissions and all of that. But even from like the actual organization standpoint, I would love to see educational initiatives driven around, hey, what does this look like if I stake 2 different assets and I create a liquidity pool token? What does that look like for me if one asset does this? Having those calculators, I think, is really valuable, and having those educational initiatives. For anybody interested in learning more about Leemon Swap, where would you guys want people to be driven towards right now?
Sure. So we release a lot of content on our Twitter, of course. So follow us on Twitter, Leemon Swap. Our website, LeemonsWap.com. We have some information on our project roadmap as well as our goals. There's also a light paper that you can read, and then obviously join our Discord if you have any questions or suggestions for us to take a look at. And we're always available there as well.
100%. Do you have any? The last question is usually when moon, which is such a quiche question. But instead of when moon, do you have anything coming up in the near future that you'd like to mention or talk about other than what you have already mentioned?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're going to do our second round of the pre-sale raise probably at some point next week.
Okay.
So pay attention for that. We'll have announcements on our Discord and our Twitter when that will be. Looking at what we've already built on other DLTs, the dev team we aim to launch in Q4. It is a tight schedule, and obviously that's hopeful. So it may spill over into Q1, but definitely be ready for some testnet versions of our platform to play around with.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the front end and everything that you guys that you've tested on these different ecosystems and bring it over into Hedera and have another another DEX and hopefully one of the standout ones from an aggregation standpoint to really try to create some more value that we may not be seeing right now. And awesome to be able to have the opportunity to talk with you today, Coffee, about Leemon Swap, and looking forward, dude. I'm sure that this will not be the last time that we have a conversation, hopefully. So looking forward to the near future as well, man.
Yeah, definitely. I'll come on whenever you ask, man.
Yeah, I think I have to say, I have to give you a shout out. I mean, this will go out before then, but you guys did contribute quite a hefty amount towards the Happy Hedera Ween, which you didn't have to do. So I'm excited we'll start rolling out more information about that. Probably by the time this video actually comes out, that'll be out. So Coffee, it was a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing everything that Leemon Swap facilitates in the near future on the Hedera Hashgraph ecosystem. So
really appreciate it, man. And I will say we've done collaborations with Creamies, Dead Pixels. We have an official partnership with Earthlings.
awesome.
We have two more in the chamber that we're hoping to announce soon as well. And we do have another collaboration that we'll be announcing on Monday.
That's great. I've talked to Creamies, I've talked to Dead Pixels, I've talked to all the Earthlings guys. It's crazy how much is going on in this space because it's moving so fast and there's so many builders. So it's always great to see synergy between projects. Yeah, and you probably know as well as I do, the majority of people you talk to in this space are just incredible to talk to and to try to collaborate with.
So nice, man. It's like completely different than other DLTs. Hedera is all about growing the community and making Hedera itself, the top DLT. That's what everyone's goal is with every project that they're building. So, a lot of happy people and a lot of, very excited builders, people that want to collaborate, people that want to join in partnerships, so it's really exciting to see, and something I think that will create some sort of almost like a virus with all the people that come on from other DLTs, so I'm excited.
I am too, man. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, and thank you so much for hopping on.
Awesome. Thanks again.